Hi everyone, it's the EnglishSimmer here and welcome back to my channel. And today's video, where if you have read the title and seen the thumbnail, you probably already know what this is about, which is why you clicked on this video, but we are gonna be talking about this dude. This is Elgato's newest capture card, the 4K60S Plus. This is their first capture card that is portable and also capable of 4K 60 FPS HDR recording, and you can do it all on this bad boy without even having a computer. So before we fully get into it, I do want to let you guys know that I am sponsored by Elgato. This is a sponsored video. This little guy, or big guy, should I say, was gifted to me, sent to me by Elgato so that I could test it out and also get a feel for it and basically create this video so that I can tell you guys exactly what I'm gonna be using him for in my setup when it comes to future events and all of those things. I'm also not the techiest person on earth, even though I have a gaming channel and I deal with computers like majority of my day. I am not the techiest person in the world. I don't know tech language all that great, and I actually don't have a computer or a console that is capable of pushing this guy to its hardest. I have my old PS4 and I have a Nintendo Switch, so I don't have a console capable of 4K 60 FPS recording. Hopefully, if I get my hands on a PS5, I can then test this guy to its limits with 4K, but I'm gonna need a 4K monitor before I do that anyways. So I basically wanted to make this video with my experience. There are some upsides of this dude, there are some downsides of this thing, so we're going to be covering all of those. So the 4K 60S comes in at a pretty big price point, but once you actually know the functionality of this capture card, it's kind of easier to understand why it is the price that it is. So this is just under £390 in the UK. So the biggest selling point of this capture card to me is this guy right here on the front of this capture card. This is an SD card slot. So I am a gaming creator. I use cameras a lot of the time. I already have plenty of SD cards. And the fact that I can now travel with this capture card and an SD card, plug this into a PC at an event or into a console at an event, plop this SD card into the front and then just hit the record button is pretty crazy. So what I would do at an event to do this is plug the HDMI in into the console or the PC that I am planning on recording from, plug in the USB-C power, which is actually shipped with this capture card, so Elgato have you covered on the power, and then plug the HDMI out to the TV or monitor I am wanting to record to and to see my gameplay on. And then I take my SD card like I talked about, put it in the front, hit record, and boom, you are good to go. It started recording. There is a little indicator here when this is plugged in. If there is an error of any sort on your SD card, if your SD card is locked, if it's running out of room, this little light will flash. That's all in the setup guide. Like, every flash is denoted as to what it means and if there's an error with your card. And not only is he good for traveling with the SD card, but once you get back home, you can just plug this into your PC without the power adapter and just use the USB-C, and it will just work like a regular Elgato capture card. So you can also stream off this thing and also just record your videos through a software like OBS. There is one thing to note about the SD cards though, and this is like as techie as I'm gonna get in this video, because there needs to be a minimum spec on the SD card that you are using to record on, and this has to do with the speed class. So the speed class on the SD card that you're using with this capture card, it has to be at least a U3 speed class or a V30. Anything above that is going to work perfectly okay with this, but do not go below those speed classes or else you are going to run into issues. Luckily, this one that I currently have is a U3, so I am good to go. So if you are part of my community, you're probably wondering, Molly, what are you going to get out of this capture card? When you travel to events, you're mainly playing The Sims, which is predominantly a PC game. So we sit in front of a PC, which usually already has a software program, a recording program like OBS or something like that installed on it. So how is this going to help you out at your game capture events? Well, the thing is, when I am at events, I usually have to play around with the settings for those recording programs just to get them up to scratch with like how I usually record at home, which then further eats into my recording time. And then once I've actually finished recording, I usually have to wait for one of the guys running the event to come over, check all my footage is okay, make sure that nothing is corrupt, and then have to plug in my hard drive to then transfer all of my files from the computer to my hard drive, which again takes out a massive chunk of time that I could be using to record. And that's where this guy comes in extremely handy for me, because if I can just put my SD card in here, you can record up to 7 hours of 4K footage onto your SD card on a 256 gigabyte SD card. So if I'm just recording straight to this instead of having to record to the PC, then transfer all of my files, that's gonna save me an awful lot of time, which then means I have more time to capture the content that I actually need to make my videos once I am home. Also, the amount of times that I've been at a Sims camp or an event and I've forgotten like my lead to my hard drive, or I've just straight up forgotten my hard drive, it's just crazy. Also, transferring files from the computer to hard drives can completely corrupt. I've had events where the first day has just been wiped because it didn't do the transfer, and then they wipe the PCs overnight and I've lost all of my first day of footage. So this guy is gonna come in clutch for those situations especially. And then the second instance where this capture card is gonna come in really handy for me personally, you guys know I've been doing a lot of Animal Crossing recently on my channel, and I definitely wanna start focusing on console games a bit more when they do take my interest. And so it's gonna be really handy to just have this like when I'm not traveling on my desk and just set up connected to my Nintendo Switch. And I've seen people recently ask me to cover the game more nighttime. It is one of those games that goes off like where you are and what time it is in your location. And so when it's like nighttime, I don't really feel like setting this setup up. I don't want to be on camera when I'm playing Animal Crossing at like 11 p.m. at night. But sometimes I would like to record and then come back to that recording at a later date and do a voiceover for it, make a video out of it. So having this set up to my Nintendo Switch means that I can just record to the SD card, leave that in there, and then when I want to recall back to that footage that I have and do a voiceover on it, I can just take the SD card, transfer all of that data over to my PC, and then edit that footage at a later date. And then, if I can ever get my hands on a second Nintendo Switch dock, I can also have this set up downstairs if I want to. So if I'm ever playing Animal Crossing, like whilst lounging around on a Sunday on my couch, I can just have this plugged into the Switch dock downstairs. And again, I can just capture footage at the press of a button and then later take my SD card, transfer that all to my computer and have that footage to use whenever I need it. So it pretty much just offers the freedom to be able to record when I want without having to go through the whole rigmarole of setting up OBS and setting up my lights and my camera, and I can just do voiceovers when I want to, really. It's strange that I'm making this video right now, but I'm hoping that once the world goes back to normal and we can start treating ourselves to gaming conventions, I do want to start doing more stuff with games that do interest me outside of The Sims or what I'm currently playing on my channel. So if I set up meetings at events, if they want me to capture gameplay, I can just set this up super easily whilst I'm in a meeting. It's not really gonna eat into the meeting time. I can kind of just hit record and then I can sit and talk to the devs or the people who I'm currently like having a meeting with whilst also recording gameplay without thinking about it. Can come home later on to my hotel, stick my SD card into my laptop and get editing that footage like straight away. However, even though there are all of these handy features on this, there are some definite downsides, I feel, to this. I feel like it could have been a little bit of a stronger product if there was just a little bit more thought, especially when it comes to the SD card slot. I would love for this to be an SD card reader. My desktop PC, which is basically where I do a lot of my work, not when I'm traveling. I mean, it's fine when I'm traveling because I use my laptop to edit my videos and that does have an SD card reader in the side of it. So this isn't really an issue for when I am traveling, but if this had been an SD card reader, I could have just left this plugged into my desktop PC majority of the time and use it to transfer data. I don't know why that isn't a thing. I don't know why this isn't an SD card reader. They could have quite easily just added a little like switch on the front of here, I feel like. So if you wanted to put your SD card in and then you could automatically transfer your footage if your desktop PC doesn't have an SD card reader like mine. So that's one downfall I feel like this product has for sure. Also, the record button. This is just a flat button. It's not actually like a button that you can press in. Like there's no feedback to it whatsoever. It's kind of just like a touchscreen. I'm not the biggest fan of that. I have been using this and sometimes like I've mispressed it and it hasn't actually felt that I've touched record. So definitely always make sure that you have the recording indication because you can misclick this and it just won't be recording. So please always double check that your footage is recording. And because this has an encoder inside it, it does take a little while to finish off encoding your videos. And this is all mentioned in Elgato's quick start guide. Like I said, the flashing lights are all indicated and written down what they mean, but just make sure that you're not taking your SD card out before this has finished encoding or else you're going to get corrupt videos and nobody wants that after a 7-hour gameplay session. And then finally, the one last thing that is stopping me from having this capture card as like my go-to that's always going to be connected to my PC. I think I'm going to stick with my HD 60 Pro for this exact reason, is the fact that this 4K 60S Plus doesn't actually support Elgato's multi-app. So that's when you can basically use your capture card in OBS, but then you can also use Elgato's 4K 60 capture and you can capture a clean footage. So for example, when I am streaming, I can use my current capture card in OBS and then I can also have a second instance of that on Elgato software and I can be recording a completely fresh gameplay so I can have like absolutely no overlays so that I can later use that in videos. This guy is not capable of that. So it doesn't have multi-app support, which is why I think it's holding me back from actually using this as like my go-to capture card. But for events, this is perfect and it is such a step up. And honestly, props to Elgato for coming up with this. I think they really knew their market was going to be like gaming creators who travel to events or competitive esports players who want to record their footage, but then also can use this as a regular capture card at home. So I hope this video was helpful. If you guys have any questions, if you feel like I missed anything about this product that you would like to know more about, then definitely let me know in the comments. I tried to keep it as like basic as possible. I tried to keep it in language that I personally would understand and that you guys hopefully understand as well. But if you have any questions, please do not hesitate to ask them in the comments down below and I will try to get back to you. It does also have an input on the front, so if you are using a PS4 chat link, you can actually just use this to record your voice and also your teammate's voice and the gameplay. So pretty much everything can be recorded through this with a PS4 chat link, but that's just like if you're using a PS4 chat link. So hope that answers every question that you might have had about the 4K 60S Plus, which I'm still getting confused about that name, which I shouldn't. It's pretty, like, standard. Like, it records in 4K, 60 FPS. Why am I struggling with that is beyond me. But thank you guys so much for tuning into this video. Thank you to Elgato for sending this out to me. Can't wait to get back to normal and be able to actually test this guy out at events and things like that and see really how it's going to affect that. So thank you guys for tuning in. Give this video a big thumbs up if you found it helpful, and I will speak to you all in my next one. Bye guys!